Trauma is never a one and done. That's the message from one of the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, as his victims are pulled back into the spotlight and the fallout over the government's handling of this case. In 2002, Teresa Helm was 22 years old when she met Ghislaine Maxwell. Helm says Maxwell groomed her and lured her to New York City under the guise of a job interview. There, she says, she met and was sexually assaulted by Jeffrey Epstein. In her words, "My world flipped in a dash." Now she's speaking out again, asking in an email to NBC News, when a person's abusers are repeatedly flashed in view at any given moment, and especially when promises of justice and promises of structures of power finally being held to account, to then essentially have the door shut in your face and no longer open for business, then what? Teresa Helm joins us. She's now working as a survivor services coordinator for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Teresa, thank you so much for being willing to speak out and to share your story and your thoughts in this moment. What have the past couple of weeks been like for you with all of this renewed focus on the Epstein case?
Good morning, Anna. Thank you for having me. It's been yet another whirlwind, I'd say, of emotion, and really the main focus is trying to stay calm, stay grounded, because that's what us survivors continuously have to do throughout the ongoing process, because the re-traumatization is a very real item, whether it's the most recent days and what's going on, or whether it's been throughout the years of all the memes and all the news stories that come out. It's a constant, okay? So the last few weeks or a bit of time here, what it means is that we have to stay focused on what the outcome is for these survivors. There needs to be the transparency, because there are women here, many women, that have gone through these lived experiences, that is something that cannot be taken away or simply shut down. It cannot be shut down. These are experiences that have been had, and you don't have this experience after experience with so many different women and go on to say that there's actually nothing here, because there have been multiple people to support this perpetual abuse and exploitation for decades.
Wow, I imagine it's really quite painful to have that re-traumatization that you talk about, especially given all of the constant in-your-face discussion about Jeffrey Epstein and his crimes and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm curious, has anyone from the DOJ reached out to you either before or after releasing that memo, essentially saying case closed?
No, I have not personally spoken with anyone regarding this matter. I'm not sure what's speaking to me to tell me I would have to oppose their view. You know, again, I cannot stress enough the fact that there are so many people that have, again, I'm just repeating myself, perpetuated decades of exploitation. My personal experience, I know of 3 different women that led me down the path to me taking myself to the home of Jeffrey Epstein, where he assaulted me. I know of an additional 4th woman who followed up with an email thanking me for my time there, if you could believe that, which is a part of the normalization of the abuse. So just in my experience, I have 4 women, Jeffrey Epstein who assaulted me, and I have an additional gentleman, the chef that I met in Jeffrey's home. I have the driver. I have the place that I stayed, which was Jeffrey Epstein's brother's apartment building. You have all the accomplices there. So these are just the people that help facilitate. What about all the people that these other women were exploited and trafficked to? There are so many people involved, and there have been so many people involved for decades. So it cannot, there's zero sense to be made to say that there's actually nothing here.
You have Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche now meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell 2 days in a row. You were a key witness at her trial. You testified that she groomed you for Epstein. What are your thoughts about her getting these high-profile meetings and being put back in the spotlight?
I'm hugely concerned about these discussions with Ghislaine Maxwell and what they may result. I first and foremost would adamantly state that her credibility is zero. She has previously been charged with perjury, so we already know that she's capable and willing and ready to lie under oath. So why would we grant her the opportunity to yet again raise her right hand, declare the truth and nothing but the truth, when the credibility, it's just not there? How can we listen to her? If she has so many important facts to state, if she has so many new items to share about individuals, why are they new? Why did she not share them long ago? When I try to make sense of anything that is going on right now, the only conclusion that I continue to come to is none of this makes sense. And when things don't make sense, they don't add up. I do believe because there is a significant lack of truth, and the transparency, that's entirely gone at this point.
Do you worry that Maxwell will be given some kind of leniency, maybe even a pardon? What would that mean to you?
I am concerned about that, and it would mean the complete crumbling of this justice system that should first and foremost stand for, fight for, and protect survivors. We all deserve a pathway to justice, and then we don't deserve to have it yet again robbed from us because so much has already been taken. It truly does seem, I should say, just an upside down world where you are promised and there are declarations of the judicial system working to support pathways to justice, and for them just to simply crumble is what it appears is happening right now.
Well, you're hearing a lot of people speak out, though, to say, release the files, more transparency, which I know is what you're asking for. And we're learning little by little more pieces of the puzzle. The Wall Street Journal has been reporting about this book apparently created for Epstein's birthday in 2003 that reportedly includes letters from President Trump and former President Clinton, among dozens of others. President Trump denies he wrote anything, and a spokesperson for Clinton referred NBC back to a 2019 statement saying Clinton had no knowledge of the crimes. There was another attorney who represents hundreds of survivors who told MSNBC that his clients remember this book and that some were actually pulled into putting that book together. Do you know anything about that book?
I do not know anything about that book, no. So their experience, clearly was different than mine. I saw framed photos of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein with presidents in their homes. I did not have anything to do with that book, no.
So the president has continued to call the controversy around this investigation a Democrat con job and a hoax. A few months ago, another Epstein survivor, Virginia Giuffre, she took her own life. Another has died of an overdose. What's it like for you and the hundreds of other survivors to see this kind of messaging from the President of the United States?
I can't imagine anything to be a hoax. That's what I mean. Simply put, it's not a hoax of what women have gone through. So I'm not clear as to what the hoax part would entail. The lived experience of these women is very real. They've lived it for decades. And, obviously exceedingly tragically, that I think a lot of these experiences was just in the end too much, for some survivors, which is something that happens fairly regularly with survivors. Certainly not all, but there is so much tragedy ongoing that can happen. Nothing here is a hoax. There are real lives that have been impacted, and I would like to believe that while we shouldn't get caught up in any kind of political weaponization of anything on anywhere, that is not the point. The point are the women that deserve their continued path to justice, which means holding those into account that have harmed them.
To that point, how do you want to see this end?
I would like to see that there are people that are going to be criminally held to account for their crimes. I would like to see people that potentially are still running. Are they running parts of the government? Are they running businesses? What are they doing right now? They have to be held to account, because these are not the type of people that we should have continuing, educating our youth and influencing children. We need to have people that are non-criminal, non-exploitation, or people that aren't committing exploitation. I do believe personally that our future society is really dependent on who we allow to get away with what. We can't continue this message of power and influence and money will keep you from being held into account, or even gives you that sense of superiority that you can and should treat others like this as if they're not up to your level because of your power status. These things need to be viewed, looked at, and really just taken to the ground, back down, and level out the field of justice. Because as of now, I feel like we're severely out of balance.
So, Teresa, what I'm hearing you say is you feel like there are still a lot of people you know of personally who were involved in your own experience that haven't faced justice or faced accountability, and that you think needs to be uncovered still or revealed. Their names need to be put out there. You heard from some of the members of the Trump administration before they came into their current positions in the FBI, people like Kash Patel or Don Mangino, saying they agreed with you. But now they were part of that DOJ and FBI memo that went out that said they've looked at all the files and there are no additional charges that could be brought, and that there is no client list. There was no blackmail between Jeffrey Epstein and some of these other people who, been put out there as suspicious, being involved in potential crimes. Do you believe that? Do you believe them? Do you believe that they've actually looked at it, or how do you make sense of them putting out that statement after having previously said that they believed you and felt the same way?
Right. So that is what is really sealing the deal on this theme that keeps popping up to me of just total confusion. None of this makes sense. And so I don't even, it's very difficult to continue to try to navigate this ongoing, unfolding situation when I am not even certain what we're even doing at this point. It's confusion. I mean, that really is what it comes back to is utter confusion every single time, because it simply doesn't make sense. We can't just keep saying one thing and then changing and saying something very different. It's not adding up. And the fact of the matter is that it's affecting so many different women and so many different survivors of this. And it's setting, I do believe, a very terrible precedent. We have to honor the process of justice, and we have to do what we say we're going to do.
Teresa Helm, thank you for speaking out and sharing your truth and and helping us understand what you are going through and other survivors are going through right now. We appreciate it.